Long term, for us to innovate, to come to your book, how do we repair an education system that can educate and prepare the next generation of leaders and job creators and innovators in the country?
Slowly, and that is the approach. The goal that I have there is to offer an alternative to sort of what we're talking about, because we've been taught for so long a school of thought on economics and personal liberty and the importance of the individual versus everybody coming together and managing. I want people to be able to homeschool their children. Not everybody. This is designed to pick out the leaders who want to, and maybe 20% might be interested in doing this. But they would at least see these would be leaders who then would be talking about running for Congress and understand why the Federal Reserve is a problem. Today, we have been conditioned in all our schools that it's good to have a very robust foreign policy to be involved in all these countries. We've been taught that the Federal Reserve is sacred, except for the last 5 years, people are questioning the Federal Reserve. We have been taught that deficits are good and spending is good and borrowing is no problem. But we have to reverse that, and we have to.
What's the correlation between homeschooling and getting a better understanding of the Fed? I mean, that's
the whole thing
for me.
My whole curriculum and everything I talk about is based on the freedom philosophy, which is what I've been talking about for 30 years. But so the education would be quite different. It would be something where young people would learn at their own pace. They would pick, and they would do it over the internet. It wouldn't cost as much, but they're going to be taught different economics. They would have a different perspective on history. For instance, every one of us has been taught that one of our greatest presidents was Woodrow Wilson. But if you're liberal or conservative, if you look at Woodrow Wilson, he violently abused our civil liberties. He was the one that told us that we had to march around the world. He was the one that changed our foreign policy. And I'd like to show that some of our presidents, the only great presidents, have been the warmongers. And maybe the people who argued for negotiations might be a better president. So it'll be a different approach, but it'll be upfront. It'll be the freedom philosophy. It'll be based on individual freedom and not a collectivist approach that the federal government runs everything down. Now we're coming up with a core curriculum and just more mandates and more controls. And how do you satisfy people who don't like the textbooks? There's no way you can solve that problem other than the fact offer people other choices.
If you want to get to 20% of children being homeschooled, that's going to mean a vast drop in the number of women in the workforce, because it is largely women who are doing the homeschooling. A lot of women can't afford to give up their jobs to homeschool their children. A lot of families can't afford that. And do we actually want to be encouraging women not to take part in the workforce, because we know how valuable that diversity is? I'm concerned about advocating homeschooling on this level when women are having such a hard time already staying in the workforce.
Of course, those are the problems created by what I'm trying to correct, because they have to be in the workforce and they have to work and not take care of kids because of the system that we have, because it's survival for them. So you are absolutely right. There is a choice. Matter of fact, my wife and I are talking about this. Even if the conditions would have been bad in our public school system when we were raising our kids, we probably wouldn't have homeschooled, for various reasons. So it's not going to be for everybody. It's not like you're closing down the schools and everybody's going to be homeschooled. There's going to be choices to be made, and some people will go out of their way for their children. And but I agree with you. It is not going to be easy, because we're facing the consequences. I saw an article yesterday of a woman working 2 jobs, and she was living in a shelter. And she couldn't pay her bills because her cost of living goes up much faster than wages. That's another characteristic of this monetary system. So that is a consequence why they have to work. But if people really want to get it done, they can. But I grant you, it will not be easy. But to continue to do what we're doing now, Harold, remember when Washington ever had trouble with their schools, they always thought if we just gave them more money, it would solve it. But the schools that get the most money aren't the best schools at all. Money does not solve this problem. And homeschooling, the kids are really learning, they're excelling, they're getting in college when they're 15 and 16. The costs are less. But there is something you have to invest in, and that is the parents have to decide whether they're going to do it or not.